Right Network. Mobilizing, countering the left, energizing the right. New Right Network, home of the New Right movement.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to New Right Network. Tonight, your host, Brian Smith, giving you the real news, exposing the fake news. And today, folks, we have an attack on conservative news outlets like we've never seen before. Tucker Carlson was attacked over the weekend and throughout all yesterday on Monday. Years ago, Tucker Carlson was on a radio show talking about certain subjects that tend to be sensitive subjects to the left, trigger them, and we'll get into that, as well as Donald Trump's budget being proposed. Today, we'll get into all the details of that, and the left is absolutely imploding over Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi announcing yesterday that Donald Trump is not worth impeachment. Stephen Dinnan at the Washington Times, Monday, March 11th, 2019, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she's not in favor of impeaching President Trump, dealing a major setback to the anti-Trump resistance, which has clamored for House Democrats to take the politically charged steps. Ms. Pelosi, in an interview with the Washington Post magazine, said that while she doubts Mr. Trump's fitness for office, impeaching him would be too divisive. I'm not for impeaching, she told the magazine, adding she was aware she was breaking news with the announcement. Impeachment is so divisive to the country that unless there's something so compelling and overwhelming and bipartisan, I don't think we should go down that path because it divides the country and he's just not worth it. How about that, folks? Nancy Pelosi taking impeachment off the table. I'm excited about this. I think it is a good thing. We can now move forward as a country and continue to make America great again. America first. Tucker Carlson fighting back the left's attacks on him. The left absolutely wants to destroy Tucker Carlson. They want to remove him on Fox News because he's so damaging. Damaging to who? The Washington Post. This by Jack Posobiec, posted on Twitter. The Washington Post really wants Tucker Carlson fired for some reason, but I can't quite put my finger on it. And as you can see, Jack Posobiec has posted 3 different pictures. Amazon investigating Jeff Bezos. Amazon relies on discredited SPLC to banish conservative groups. Some Amazon workers rely on food stamps to live. This becoming a very dangerous point in time where you have the richest man in the world who buys a news outlet, the Washington Compost, for fake news, and then attacks Tucker Carlson with things that he said more than a decade ago. Some of the things that he said on a raunchy morning show on the radio may be upsetting to those under the age of 16 or Democrats. Tucker Carlson made a statement, and this 6-minute clip, you have to hear all of it, folks. You have to hear the entire 6-minute clip. This is the 6-minute clip that Tucker Carlson shot back at fake news, Democrats, and the GOP.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. As anyone who's ever been caught in its gears can tell you, the great American outrage machine is a remarkable thing. One day you're having dinner with your family, imagining everything is fine. The next, your phone is exploding with calls from reporters. They read you snippets from a press release written by Democratic Party operatives. They demand to know how you could possibly have said something so awful and offensive. Do you have a statement on how immoral you are? It's a bewildering moment, especially when the quotes in question are more than a decade old. There's really not that much you can do to respond. It's pointless to try to explain how the words were spoken in jest or taken out of context, or in any case bear no resemblance to what you actually think or would want for the country. None of that matters. Nobody cares. You know the role you're required to play, you are a sinner begging the forgiveness of Twitter. So you issue a statement of deep contrition. You apologize profusely for your transgressions. You promise to be a better person going forward. With the guidance of your contrition consultants, you send money to whatever organization claims to represent the people you supposedly offended. Then you sit back and brace for a wave of stories about your apology, all of which are simply pretexts for attacking you again. In the end, you get fired. You lose your job. Nobody defends you. Your neighbors avert their gaze as you pull into the driveway. You are ruined. And yet, no matter how bad it gets, no matter how despised and humiliated you may be, there is one thing you can never do, one thing that is absolutely not allowed. You can never acknowledge the comic absurdity of the whole thing. You can never laugh in the face of the mob. You must always pretend that the people yelling at you are somehow your moral superiors. You have to assume that what they say they're mad about is what they're actually mad about. You have to take them at face value. You must pretend this is a debate about virtue and not about power. Your critics are arguing from principle and not from partisanship. No matter what they take from you in the end, you must continue to pretend that these things are true. You are bad, they are good, the system is on the level. But what if we stopped pretending for a minute? What if we acknowledged what's actually going on? One side is deadly serious. They believe that politics is war. They're not interested in abstractions or principles, rules or traditions. They seek power. They plan to win it, whatever it takes. If that includes getting you fired or silencing you or threatening your family at home or throwing you in prison, okay. They know what their goal is. If you're in the way, they will crush you. What's interesting is how reliably the other side pretends that none of this is happening. Republicans in Washington do a fairly credible imitation of an opposition party. They still give speeches. They tweet quite a bit. They make concerned noises about how liberals are bad. But on the deepest level, it's all a pose. In their minds, where it matters, Republican leaders are controlled by the left. They know exactly what they're allowed to say and believe. They know what the rules are. They may understand that those rules are written by the very people who seek their destruction. They ruthlessly enforce them anyway. Republicans in Washington police their own with a never-ending enthusiasm. Like trustees at a prison, they dutifully report back to the warden, hoping for perks. Nobody wants to be called names. Nobody wants to be Trump. How many times have you seen it happen? Some conservative figure will say something stupid or incomplete or too far outside the bounds of received wisdom for the moral guardians of cable news. Twitter goes bonkers. The mob demands a response. Very often, the first people calling for the destruction of that person are Republican leaders. You saw it with the Covington Catholic High School kids. You see it all the time. Kevin McCarthy spends half his day telling Republican members not to criticize progressive orthodoxy. Paul Ryan did the same before him. A couple of years ago, the entire Democratic Party decided to deny the biological reality of sex differences, an idea that's as insane as it is dangerous. Republican leaders decided not to criticize them for it. They might get upset. This is a system built on deceit and enforced silence. Hypocrisy is its hallmark. Yet in Washington, it's considered rude to ask questions about how exactly it works. Why are the people who consider Bill Clinton a hero lecturing me about sexism? How can the party that demands racial quotas denounce other people as racist? After a while, you begin to think that maybe their criticisms aren't sincere. Maybe their moral puffery is a costume. Maybe the whole conversation is an absurd joke. Maybe we're falling for it. You sometimes hear modern progressives described as new Puritans. That's a slur on colonial Americans. Whatever their flaws, the Puritans cared about the fate of the human soul and the moral regeneration of their society. Those are not topics that interest progressives. They're too busy pushing late-term abortion and cross-dressing on fifth graders. These are the people who write our movies and our sitcoms. They are not shocked by naughty words. They just pretend to be when it's useful. It's been very useful lately. The left's main goal, in case you haven't noticed, is controlling what you think. In order to do that, they have to control the information that you receive. Google and Facebook and Twitter are fully on board with that. They're happy to ban unapproved thoughts, and they don't apologize for it. They often do. So do the other cable channels and virtually every major news outlet in this country. One of the only places left in the United States where independent thoughts are allowed is right here, the opinion hours on this network. Just a few hours in a sea of television programming. It's not much, relatively speaking. For the left, it's unacceptable. They demand total conformity. Since the day we went on the air, they've been working hard to kill this show. We haven't said much about it in public. It seemed too self-referential. The point of this show has never been us. But now it's obvious to everybody. There's no pretending that it's not happening. It is happening. And so going forward, we'll be covering their efforts to make us be quiet. For now, though, just 2 points to leave you with. First, Fox News is behind us, as they have been since the very first day. Toughness is a rare quality at a TV network, and we are grateful for that. Second, we've always apologized when we're wrong, and we'll continue to do that. That's what decent people do. They apologize. But we will never bow to the mob. Ever. No matter what.
And that's the takeaway, folks. We can never bow down to the mob. We can never apologize to these people. We have to continue to always stand up for our rights and continue to fight back, not physically, but verbally, as we do here on Smyth.tv, New Right Network tonight. Folks, we've had an amazing journey starting out as Smyth Radio and now transforming into Smyth.tv along with a partnership with New Right Network tonight, the big tent party, folks. This is the MAGA movement. This is the America First movement. And then when Donald Trump is out of office after 2024, we now need to transform into Keep America Great Again. These are the new voices at New Right Network tonight. And as I bring you the real news and as I expose the fake news, the lies, the smears, as we talk about Tucker Carlson and what they're attempting to do to him, we've got to remember that we are in this together. And it's amazing. I'm very, very excited about Fox News standing behind Tucker Carlson. I was kind of shocked at that. I wasn't sure if they were going to do that or not. But as he said, they're standing behind him, and that's all he needs. Tucker Carlson is a big boy. He can take care of himself, and he knows he's got millions and millions of supporting viewers on Twitter and social media, as well as at night watching his show. Right after his show after his show comes on Sean Hannity, and Sean Hannity is under a similar attack by media, by big money, outside interest, attempting to defund Sean Hannity. Like going after the businesses that buy commercial ad space on Sean Hannity's show, as well as Tucker Carlson's show. Folks, we're in a fight for our lives right now as Tucker is under fire. At Jessie Jane Duff posted on Twitter, Media Matters dug up for a decade of transcripts to find a flimsy gotcha moment, but remained silent when Democrats' anti-Semitism, a black-faced Klansman, and bigoted comments by Joy Reid, Caitlin Collins, and Josh Dawsey. The left is terrified of Tucker Carlson and Judge Jeanine. They punch back. And the thing about Judge Jeanine happened just a couple of days ago as well. They're after her. Judge Jeanine, Fox host, says that Ilhan Omar's hijab may mean that she's against the Constitution. We have talked about this at great length on this show about Islam, the hijab, and what it means. Folks, Islam and communism are parallel, folks. They are one and the same with different names. Islam, the religion, is the government. And communism, they ban all religions, and you wind up being beholden to the government itself. Therein lies the religion, the government. The government makes all the rules, no free speech, no Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, because you would then be a threat to the government. No, they are judge, jury, and executioner. And this is a clip of Judge Jeanine's statement. Take a look for yourself.
This is not who your party is. Your party is not anti-Israel. She is. Think about this. She's not getting this anti-Israel sentiment doctrine from the Democrat Party. So if it's not rooted in the party, where is she getting it from? Think about it. Omar wears a hijab, which according to the Quran 33:59 tells women to cover so they won't get molested. Is her adherence to this Islamic doctrine indicative of her adherence to Sharia law, which in itself is antithetical to the United States Constitution?
How is Judge Jeanine under attack for saying that the hijab and Islam is against the Constitution? You can't, because she's right. It is an attack on our Constitution. It's an attack on all our rights. For women to be forced to wear the hijab, for women to be forced to do anything is a form of slavery. If you want to go over and hang out with ISIS in the Middle East and become a slave, that's your choice. But do not bring Islam here to America and with an attempt to take over our government and change our laws here in America. You are not welcome to do that. If you want to come to America and enjoy our freedom, enjoy our rights, our First Amendment, our Second Amendment, all of our constitutional rights, you're more than welcome to come here and assimilate. You're not welcome to come here and destroy our way of life. And this video posted by @RedNationRising shows a reporter approaching Omar in the hallway and asks, "Do you think President Obama is the same as President Trump?" Omar responds, "Absolutely not. One is human, the other is not." Anti-Semites often view people they don't like as subhuman. Imagine the outrage if Trump said Omar was not human. Folks, this is a common practice in Islam, referring to people that refuse to bow down to Islam as not human or subhuman. We are exposing the Democrat Party day after day as anti-Semitic, anti-American, pro-Islam. And last Friday, our special guest, Magdalene Rose, I talked with her about this new movement, as we know that there was a walkaway movement and then a hashtag BLexit. The walkaway movement started by Brandon Straka to walk away from the Democrat Party. The BLexit movement started by Candace Owens for Black Americans to walk away from the Democrat Party. And now we have reports now, Jexodus. I talked about this with our special guest, Magdalene Rose, last Friday. Jexodus is a walkaway of Jews from the Democrat Party. And this posted at Trump's GA Girl. An exodus should be no-brainer for all Christians. The demon rats have shown Americans exactly where they stand. They stand with evil, Satan, and everything against God. Hashtag party of evil. Hashtag Democrats are evil. Jexodus may pose problems for the Democrats. And she posted this article by Epoch Times. President Donald Trump claims that the Democrats hate Jewish people, is giving a boost to what appears to be an embryonic movement encouraging Jews, traditionally a key Democratic voting bloc, to abandon the Democrat Party. Then the Epoch Times then references an Axios report. Axios, the president, made comments to Republican donors March 8th based on statements by attendees. Trump also reportedly said he couldn't grasp how any Jew could vote for a Democrat these days, given the party's track record. Folks, you're not going to hear this in the mainstream media. You're only going to hear it here, Judge Jeanine, and apparently Tucker Carlson. The Democrat Party has been completely hijacked. If you haven't seen the video yet, you absolutely have to. We talked about the far left and what has happened to the party of the Democrats with the takeover of Omar and AOC, this all being propped up by Justice Democrats. The actresses that have won seats in Congress in the Democrat Party, supported by Justice Democrats, PAC. Folks, this is real and it should wake every single person up. They are coming for us. They are coming for us through the Democrat Party, and the Democrat Party is not saying a single word. They're allowing this to happen to them as they completely fracture, split apart. Nancy Pelosi is staying quiet, and that's, in my opinion, her way of keeping the party together so it doesn't fracture. But it is absolutely being destroyed from within. This also at Amberly Athey, she's a reporter at the Daily Caller. This was posted on Twitter in regards to Judge Jeanine and Tucker Carlson. Chris Matthews, not just the settlement, a culture that continued to be filled with abuse and harassment. I've had half a dozen former NBC staffers and guests confirm this to me. Chris Matthews runs an abusive work environment. When he turns on you, look out. And now there have been reports of settlements made to various women by MSNBC. We also know that Matt Lauer had some personal issues with dealing with women. He had a lock installed on his door so when a woman entered his office, he could press a button underneath his desk and have the door locked. This is disturbing. This is the left mainstream media on display. We also have Harvey Weinstein out in Hollywood. We know that story, how that blew up. We also have Jeffrey Epstein, good friends of the Clintons, Lolita Express. The left is attempting to accuse the right, once again, of something that it has been doing for decades. There's no there with the Tucker Carlson thing, and there's no there with Judge Jeanine. About the Tucker Carlson comments that Tucker is defending a rapist, listen to the audio. That is absolutely not true. Tucker was making a case for the man who performed the marriage between a 16-year-old girl and a 27-year-old man. That's not the individual who raped, and that is the person that he was talking about. The person that is accused of rape should be in prison, be in jail, be charged for it, not the man who performed the actual marriage. That was Tucker's argument. And as the left has created an entire environment of victims, we now have this posted on Twitter at Chicks on the Right. It's a liberal, eat liberal world. Rabid feminist Deborah Messing's vagina cupcakes are transphobic. Yes, the rabid feminist Deborah Messing apparently created what looks to be like vagina cupcakes. At least that's what she's calling them. Posted the picture on social media, and now she's being blasted as transphobic. This is amazing how the left is eating their own because they are all victims screaming victimhood. It's as if you're watching the movie Lord of the Flies. Imagine that. All these children running around, and what happens? Complete and utter destruction. Folks, that is exactly what the Democrat Party is doing right now. They're destroying themselves from within because of the culture that they've created. It is their own fault. And now we have more censorship from the left and the big techs. This posted at the Gateway Pundit. War on conservatives. Facebook bans Zero Hedge for violating community standards. Whatever that may be, they're always changing their standards, and you don't know the standards until you violate them. Our page, Smyth Radio, is currently banned from sharing videos that we post. We are in violation of some type of community standards that I am not aware of. We are restricted from doing that as well. I understand and I sympathize with Zero Hedge. We get a lot of great information and a lot of great news from that outlet. Now Elizabeth Warren is feeling the heat on Facebook. This also posted by Gateway Pundit. Welcome to our world. Facebook censors Elizabeth Warren, removes her campaign ads to break up Facebook. How about that, folks? The left is now feeling the heat on all fronts, and it's just quite amazing to see how they're taking the turn for the worst. And today, Donald Trump touting his budget, and this is an awesome thing. This is really good. I'm thoroughly excited about how this is playing out, and this by the Washington Times, Stephen Dinna. The Washington Times, Monday, March 11th, 2019. For President Trump's budget to work, the economy will have to grow at sustained rates not seen in years. Mr. Trump calls it MAGAnomics, saying that he is convinced that Americans, with his leadership, can defy prognosticators and produce economic growth at an average of about 3% each year over the next decade. Budget analysts say there's no chance that happens. They used words like fantasy or absurd to describe the White House's predictions. At stake is Mr. Trump's promise to control deficits and to start to eat into the government's debt load by the end of this decade, and to reach full balance in 15 years. The president's economic assumptions are substantially rosier than any reasonable private sector assumption over the next 10 years. Hopefully they're correct, but the deficit is going to substantially increase if they're not. This was said by Brian Riedel, a senior budget fellow at the Manhattan Institute. Well, I'm going to take Donald Trump's word over anybody else's word because as it stands for the last 2.5 years, President Trump has been right on almost every front. The decisions that he makes have worked out. With the record removal of regulations, Donald Trump has opened up the energy sector, has opened up business. If you remember a few years ago, Donald Trump posting up, America is open for business. Folks, that's what's happening. This big, giant economic boom that we are experiencing for the first time, and what could be said in probably 20 to 30 years, is all due to the decisions that Donald Trump has made, the policies that he has put in place, and the deregulation. Doesn't take a genius to see that all these combined together will continue to make a booming economy for years to come. In this video posted by @GOP on Twitter, listen to OMB Acting Director Russell Vought lay out how the Trump administration's plan to correct our nation's budget deficit.
In the fiscal year 2020 budget, provides sizable funding of an $8.6 billion for full completion of the wall and other border security resources. In terms of other major reforms, the administration is proposing uniform work requirements for Medicaid, TANF, SNAP, or food stamps in certain housing programs. We can help low-income families and end dependency on government benefits by strengthening work requirements. The administration also wants to lower drug costs. The budget proposes a drug pricing strategy that puts American patients first, promotes generics, and reduces out-of-pocket costs. This administration has also identified a number of wasteful, inefficient programs. For example, we can save hundreds of millions of dollars by right-sizing and reforming the underperforming programs like Job Corps, a residential youth training program that has made headlines in recent years for the number of security incidents at the facilities. Or take the $600 million that we spend at 85 different cultural and exchange programs at the Department of State, despite the fact that only 1% of the 1 million students that come to this country to study ever benefited from that program, and the fact that at the State Department these programs doubled in the last 10 to 15 years. This budget is yet another fiscally responsible and common sense spending plan from President Trump. The president has continually called for fiscal restraint and will persist in his efforts to end the wasteful spending. Thank you, everyone.
As you can clearly see, this administration is cutting the fat, cutting out all these unnecessary programs that past administrations took advantage of to bring people here from outside this country. Out of the 1 million foreign students, I'm just curious as to how many actually stayed here and never went back. This is another example of President Trump's America First. And as you can see, all the money that's being put towards the border wall, President Trump posting videos on social media showing that the wall is currently being built, blasting Ann Coulter as a wacky nut job that she is, showing that the wall is currently being built. And as you can see by this video that Trump and posted also on social media at Jamie Rod R14. Manufactured crisis at Chuck Schumer and at Nancy Pelosi are wrong for going against the border crisis for political gain. President Trump is doing everything he can to stop crime, drugs, and human trafficking. Hashtag national emergency. Retweet if you agree. And here's the video that was posted.
There is a growing humanitarian and security crisis at our southern border. It strains public resources and drives down jobs and wages.
This is a manufactured crisis by the Trump administration.
Our southern border is a pipeline for vast quantities of illegal drugs. More Americans will die from drugs this year than were killed in the entire Vietnam War.
This president just used the backdrop of the Oval Office to manufacture a crisis.
Over the years, thousands of Americans have been brutally killed by those who illegally entered our country.
The notion that we have a security crisis is absolute nonsense.
Women and children are the biggest victims of our broken system. 1 in 3 women are sexually assaulted on the dangerous trek up through Mexico.
The president said there's a humanitarian crisis at the border, is there?
Absolutely not.
Last month, 20,000 migrant children were illegally brought into the United States. These children are used as human pawns by vicious coyotes and ruthless gangs.
Donald Trump is manufacturing a national security crisis. There's not a crisis.
There is not a crisis at the border.
This is the tragic reality of illegal immigration that I am determined to end.
I think we should have strong border security. It doesn't make sense for us to allow hundreds of thousands of people coming through our borders without us knowing who they are.
That's amazing. Thank you, Barack Obama, for agreeing with President Donald Trump that we should stop thousands of people coming across our border. And again, there are all kinds of examples. We've seen it. We've seen it time and time again. And on Laura Ingram's show last night, Arizona Sheriff Mark Lamb, cartels dressed women as nuns to smuggle 8 pounds of fentanyl. As the Democrats say that 80 to 90% of all the drugs coming across our border are caught at ports of entry. Of course, ports of entry are going to catch the drugs. That's where the security is. You're not going to catch the drugs where there's no security. It just doesn't make any sense, folks. We need to secure the border. We need the wall. And Donald Trump is building the wall. Again, here's the video of Sheriff Mark Lamb in Arizona talking about the drug cartels and their innovative ways of bringing drugs across the border.
You know, the cartel they don't have rules they're playing by. The other day we had a traffic stop and there was a lady in the front suit dressed as a nun with a Bible on her lap. We ended up finding 8 pounds of fentanyl in her undergarments. So when you say there's not a problem, there's absolutely a problem, and the cartel has no problem crossing any of those lines.
She was dressed as a nun? That's a new one.
Dressed as a nun, yep.
How many people could that kill?
Oh, 8 pounds of fentanyl would kill a lot. I mean, a little tiny grain, like a grain of sugar, would kill a person. So this would kill a lot of people, and it's killing our youth every day.
No. John, I got to get back to John here, because John, again, the conservatives, they say, you're not a conservative.
And Rand Paul has come out against Donald Trump's border wall. He's spoken out against Donald Trump using a national emergency. And then this on social media, he posted a video of himself speaking to the people, if you will. And this is what he had posted. I'm proud to introduce the Be Safe Act to fund border security. As both sides debate the path forward on reforming our immigration system, my bill provides a constitutional answer that guarantees funding for our needs on the border. Learn more here. Rand Paul, you are a hypocrite. Stop with all of this. Donald Trump has a legal right to enact a national emergency. He's in line with the Constitution to build the wall. There's a crisis on the border, and he's building the wall. And I just want to say that we are winning on all fronts, folks. America gets it. And this by Jexodus. We just beat New York on abortion in front of a judge in New York. We've talked about how New York has become one of the worst places for unborn babies. It has passed one of the most barbaric abortion bills in history. For a decade, it has also been targeting pro-life pregnancy centers which save lives, trying to shut them down. Our legal team was just in New York City, the abortion capital of the country, arguing before the judge directly against the abortion industry's targeting of life. And we won. In fact, New York City caved. They withdrew their case. Now we're preparing to file a lawsuit against New York over its barbaric new law and refusal to comply with our records demand. We're also preparing to file new amicus brief to defend a rule that will defund millions of Planned Parenthood. And we're preparing a critical Supreme Court amicus brief in one of the biggest abortion cases in years. We're able to bring you news in real time. Jexodus able to get this information to us in minutes. Not days, not weeks, not months, to bring it to you, to expose the Democrats for who they are, and to show you that we are making America great again. We're moving in the right direction. And we have to put the Democrats on display in this election 2020. We have to put their ideas on the table. They've already announced that they will not debate on Fox News because they will be exposed for the ridiculous nonsense that they spew. So we're going to do it here. We're going to expose the Democrats every single night, as we have been doing over the years. And this, another crazy nonsensical idea that AOC has with her new Green Deal. At Gateway Pundit, figures Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is all smiles as she arrives at SXW in a big gas guzzler to preach Green New Deal. This is the hypocrisy on the left. Tucker had co-founder Patrick Moore on his show the other night. He's the co-founder of Greenpeace. Patrick Moore blast AOC and her Green New Nightmare. End of civilization. Half the population will die. This is amazing, folks. We've got the co-founder of Greenpeace blasting Ocasio-Cortez and the Democrats for end of civilization. Half the population will die. Donald Trump picked up on this morning and tweeted out, Patrick Moore, co-founder of Greenpeace, quote, "The whole climate crisis is not only fake news, it's fake science. There's no climate crisis. There's weather and climate all around the world. And in fact, carbon dioxide is the main building block of life." We're beating the Democrats in real time. We're exposing socialism and communism as what it really is and how it's never worked every single time it's been tried. And at Real James Woods, hashtag Mad Maxine Waters admits to promoting socialism, gets a hernia, backpedaling, saying the dreaded S word. Check this video out. You're not going to believe this.
Price in the years to come if we are prohibited from finding new reserves, new opportunities to increase supplies.
And guess what this liberal will be all about? This liberal will be all about socializing, would be about basically taking over and the government running all of your companies.
Democrat Maxine Waters there looking for the...
And as you can see, Maxine Waters just can't get the words out. Folks, she should not be in Congress. She should actually go seek some kind of mental health. She should seek a doctor. With that being said, I've been all up in arms here recently because of the real ethics complaints that should be filed against Ocasio-Cortez and the real ethics complaints that should be filed against Adam Shifty-Eyed Schiff politicians. And now we're getting some great news, folks. This is really, really good. At A Red Pill Report, Adam Schiff just got slapped with an ethics complaint. Statement from Judicial Watch Tom Fitton. Representative Schiff has an ethics problem. His and his staff's irregular communications with anti-Trump witnesses reflect poorly on the credibility of the House and its committee's investigations. It has long been apparent that Representative Schiff to lead the Intelligence Committee, so we hope that Democrats on the Ethics Committee stop protecting Mr. Schiff and take action. I'm thoroughly excited by this because Adam Schiff spending 10 straight hours talking with and coaching, colluding, if you will, Michael Cohen, Adam Schiff, colluding with Fusion GPS founder Glenn Simpson, who's responsible for the Steele dossier, Russia PP Gate. All of this being exposed, the committee needs to now look at Bruce Orr because it is now abundantly clear that he has lied to Congress about knowing that his wife worked for Fusion GPS. This is utterly absurd. Not only that, but he is also violating government rules on subcontractors and nepotism, knowing that his wife was working for Fusion GPS, colluding with his wife, colluding with Glenn Simpson, colluding with Christopher Steele to get the Russian dossier to FBI higher-ups throughout the administration. Another violation within the Uniparty. Gateway Pundit reports Jeb Bush super PAC hit with massive FEC fine for accepting $1.3 million in illegal donations from Chinese corporation. Nobody's surprised about this. Hillary Clinton's camp took millions of dollars from Chinese corporations, millions of dollars from Russia, and now we see a super PAC that supported Jeb Bush for president now being hit FEC fines, $1.3 million. Now, granted, Jeb Bush tactically does not have anything to do with the super PAC. According to FEC guidelines, you are not allowed to collude with a super PAC, as Ocasio-Cortez is finding out. So we can't blame Jeb Bush directly, but indirectly we can. And now someone needs to file a complaint against Hillary Clinton and her super PACs for colluding with the DNC that she ran in the tune of $84 million that she took in, distributed through the DNC to different Democrat outlets throughout the country, and then the money wound up back in her campaign the very next day. FEC complaints that have been filed have been ignored. And wrapping up the Russian collusion, folks, MSNBC is losing their mind. This posted at Dan Kofefe1. This whole time, the deep state has been cooking up a nothing burger. Wait till the fishing expedition ends, and they serve up a nothing platter. Unnecessary presidential harassment. Check out this video from MSNBC freaking out about Mueller's report being a possible nothing burger.
The president said there was no collusion. There was no collusion. There are hints that that's certainly what Mueller may have been looking at. How big a deal is it if they don't find collusion for the president?
Huge. He's cleared. If Robert Mueller comes back, Mueller became a folk hero in the United States. Robert De Niro.
Even if he finds all sorts of things.
Sure. No, but the central and most serious question in this investigation, the reason Robert Mueller started it, is did the current president of the United States assist the Kremlin in an attack on our democracy? And if Mueller, after 2 years, comes back and says, I don't have the evidence to support that charge, that's a reckoning. That's a reckoning for progressives and Democrats who hoped that Mueller would essentially erase the 2016 election. It's a reckoning for the media. It's a reckoning around the country if, in fact, after all this time, there was no collusion.
We know there's no collusion with Donald Trump and Russia. We know that the collusion was with Hillary Clinton, Perkins Coie, Fusion GPS, Glenn Simpson, Christopher Steele, Russian contacts, and Ukrainian politicians, all colluding with Nellie Ohr, Bruce Ohr, James Baker, the top lawyer in the DOJ, as well as colluding with James Comey, Andrew McCabe, Rod Rosenstein, CIA John Brennan, James Clapper, all to overthrow a duly elected president. Folks, it's on display. Technology is what it is. We're able to find all the documents. We're able to find all the facts and then expose it here on social media. Folks, this is the New Right Network tonight, every night, new time, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern, right here at New Right Network tonight. We're on dozens of outlets simultaneously. We're on Facebook Live. We're on YouTube Live, as well as Periscope Live. Go to Smyth.tv to catch all the updates and see Donald Trump's live Twitter feed right there in the middle while you're on the website so you never miss a single tweet. Crush the Patreon button, crush the share, crush the like, folks. Thank you so much for supporting new media right here at New Right Network tonight, newrightnetwork.com, Smyth.tv. Thank you for your support and have a good night. See you tomorrow.
You've been listening to New Right Network, mobilizing, countering, energizing. Online at newrightnetwork.com.